Okay, just to recap a little bit what you've learned about this. This is just a detail of that larger altarpiece, Polyptych, by Duccio, the Sienese early Renaissance painter, the Maestà. Um, and the idea here is that formally, Sienese early Renaissance looks slightly different from that we've seen of Giotto, who we tend to associate with Florence. Um, and again, remember that in this Renaissance period, Italy is not united yet. It has all these various kind of sovereignties, Siena being right here, south of Florence. And again, they have their own governments. Each one of these little chunks of land have their own governments. And in this particular case, that rivalry between Siena and Florence means that they develop their own kind of visual aesthetic. So again, stylistically, it engages with the naturalism in the modeling, for example, here in the knee and the way the knee comes forward and seems to come forward three-dimensionally in this flat space. Proportions are, good enough. Expressions, all the things that we see in Giotto's work. But in addition, the Sienese, again, love that sense of pattern. And so just a detail of one of the saints in that great work by Duccio. So that you can see like the tender detail here on the head scarf and on her garment, even, small things like this, the braid around her wrist, around a neckline, etc. We're going to talk about how this is created in the next video. But the Sienese also, what characterizes the Sienese early Renaissance is also their love of color. This is one of the many small works that is attached to the Duccio Maestà. And anyway, not a great slide, but here please do see the great array of colors, particularly the arrays of reds. Sienese red is an actual color that you can buy. You go to the paint store, but also the great array of blues, etc. They just love this stuff. So we're gonna look at one more work from Siena, and that is located in here. I'm gonna get the map, a kind of map of the city of Siena. All of these major cities have two squares, two major open spaces. One dominated by the church, the city church called the cathedral, or Duomo in Italian. And the other dominated by the political buildings. And so we're going to go to the Palazzo Pubblico, the public palace, the public building here in Siena. And inside that building, we're going to look at this work of art, a small room decorated with frescoes, much smaller than Giotto's Arena Chapel. This is the room where one of the city councils met to make decisions. And on the walls, they were shown art that had not a religious purpose, as we've seen in the past, but a political purpose, kind of civic purpose. There are four walls, obviously, to this room. And I'm really just going to show you two because the other two are in bad shape, but you're going to get the idea of what's what. On one wall are allegoric figures, again, these sort of personifications of abstract qualities regarding it's an allegory of how good government should work. And then on the longer wall, a kind of image of the effects of good government. Here a bad slide, but just to give you some sense of the scale. So a small image, and you might want to zoom in if you can, of again the allegory of good government. So I'm going to start here because here are this is really where all the major action is. In the middle you have a kingly figure, and that's kind of funny for a republic, a kind of democratic government, but nonetheless he represents good government. And he's got in his court, he's got all these women attached to him, and each one of them represents kind of a good virtue. Now we have the seven, so we have 1, 2, 3 up here, and then the ones closest to him, the seven virtues that you've known about, that you've seen in Module 1, faith, love and hope, so faith, hope, and love. Above him, the what they call the, well, I guess the theological virtues, the one having to do with Christianity. And then these four, strength. This woman is strong. She's dressed like a warrior. She's got a shield. This woman is prudence. I believe she has a mirror in her hand. We can zoom in a little later. This woman is temperance. We've talked about temperance, or maybe we haven't, but temperance is someone who measures all things. So she usually has a cup or two cups where she pours one into the other, sort of measuring a balance. And then justice, she holds a sword. She's got a severed head in her lap. So in any event, these are my cardinal virtues, the ones that come from classical antiquity. And then just to, Lorenzetti, the painter here, the Sienese painter, adds for good measure peace, because, to run a good government, you need peace. So that woman in white there, who is actually reclining on a set of armor that has been, some soldier has tossed off their armor and she's reclining on it. And then magnanimity, which just means generosity. So in any event, these are all the virtues needed to run a good government. Justice is particularly important, as some of you might know, LaSallians that you are. So justice gets to show up again over here, and there are two ways in which justice works according to this image. And one is distributive, a big word here, just meaning that justice gives out goods to, like social justice, to sort of rectify any errors, but it also punishes, a punitive justice. And so here, justice, her right-hand person is dishing out punishment. Before I leave, I just want to give you that that detail again: peace, strength, prudence, magnanimity, temperance, and justice. Now on that second wall, remember it's a big long wall that has a kind of natural division given the way Lorenzetti painted this up. It's a wall, a city wall, that divides the protected city of Siena and then outside the countryside. And the idea here, and this is very typical, walled cities are very typical of the Renaissance, of the late medieval period, Renaissance into the Baroque, and then, as weaponry gets advanced, these city walls become, obsolete. But anyway, for a while there, all cities were bounded by walls that kept things good inside, so that in a well-protected and well-running well-governed city, women can dance, students can learn, or maybe here students are learning, commerce can happen, all sorts of good things. Construction can happen, new building can happen. So looking at the details of this, you can see that good government allows for all that. And then again, here's that wall, and the good government's over here. But outside, then you've got, a well-ordered countryside too. And people are growing things, and they're bringing that stuff to market, so sometimes just bringing animals to market, pigs, sometimes actual grain, but everything is pretty well ordered there as well. And even these people who are right by the gate of the leaving the city, are going out to enjoy the countryside. They're going out for a hunt. They're the aristocrats of this little republic, and all of it governed by justice, or a form of justice there. Now, if you look in your textbook, you can see that this work by Lorenzetti is also full of lots of detail and color. There are other two walls, just very quickly. One wall is the allegory of bad government, and it's, here is Mr. Davila's bad government, and he's got an array of bad advisors, or the opposite of the virtues. They are the vices. And again, and these frescoes are much ruined, so you can see sort of whole patches of the frescoed plaster wall have fallen off, so we don't can't see them that well. And then also the effects of bad government in which, women get slain and molested and, buildings are in disarray, that kind of stuff.